All right. So for those who are not in here and you're watching this not live, we're just kind of waiting for a few more people to kind of cycle in. So if you want to go ahead and skip ahead, you can. For those who are watching not live. But if you're watching live, welcome. Do me a favor, as per usual, please go ahead and comment and let me know that you're able to hear me. And that way we can see and make sure that all of the microphone stuff here is good. So waiting for more people to kind of filter in. If you guys saw the title of this live video, Roy's over there getting some reps in right now. So we're at the range. Perfect. Awesome. Thank you so much for letting me know about that. Perfect. Awesome. 10 out of 10. Good. So wait for a few more people to come in here. One of the things while we're waiting for folks, obviously we can't show any firearms on Instagram, or excuse me, YouTube Live. So the one thing that I can talk about though is these kind of older GPSs. So the reason why I want to talk about this while we're waiting for some more people to kind of filter in, this is the Garmin Rhino 530HCX. Now what's really cool about these is this one is actually like 13 or 14 years old. It might be 15 years old, but you can get these super, super cheap. The other cool thing that's really nice about this is it uses GMRS radio. So if you wanted to use this, all you'd have to do is just pay for the license. You don't even have to take a test. Or it's like you can transmit on these. But what's cool is there's a GPS in here, compass. You can download maps onto this. You can also talk on the radio and have it set up where if someone transmits on your net that has one of these, they will populate on your map. The other cool thing is that the batteries that came with this have been dead for a long time. Like they will no longer hold a charge. So I got these on Amazon because it was actually like 10 bucks because it's an older system. And check this out. Runs on AA's. So now I have an external battery source, a lot cheaper. You can actually get the lithium batteries for this pretty cheap because it's an older style system. But I mean, I probably won't be using it for radio specifically. I'll be mostly using it for GPS, but it is an option that you guys have to get one of these nicer systems that is older, that doesn't break the bank and gives you a GPS to be able to run. So really, really neat. Has a, so you can actually see here, you can put different routes on here. I can go on to the main menu. You guys can see that. Check out my satellites, the amount of satellites I got in the area for connection. Just some things to think about, guys. I'm always trying to look at ways to save money and try to get capability for, not in terms of lower quality, but at a better price, right? So this is something that I'm using. We've got a couple of them here at Brown Hatchet, so we're going to be running those for our GPS systems. Another good GPS system is the Garmin Fortrex series. So let me know if you guys have experience with the Fortrex. I've used to have one when it was a 301, or excuse me, the 401. I've got the 601 now, and even some of them have the applied ballistics calculator in it. So it's kind of good for like ballistics and trajectory and figuring all that stuff out. But it's a wrist style GPS, and it's really, really nice. Now, one of the things I will say that's a downside to like running a smartwatch that has GPS in it, so like this is the Garmin, is these things are now, as far as OPSEC, like you're giving off more signature. This is connected to my phone. It can do all kinds of stuff. But we're actually on the mill side not allowed to run these whenever we're doing training missions or real world stuff because of how susceptible they are to being tracked and also utilizing that to find where you're at. So kind of going with some more organic stuff, going back to map and compass type things, getting just a GPS, it's just a plain GPS is actually something to start thinking about. All right, so what I want to talk to you guys about today specifically is one, opening up for questions and answers. Roy's over there, so once he comes over here, I'll have him answer any questions that you guys have about literally anything. You want to talk about builds, you want to talk about gear, comms, preparedness. Right now we're getting into the world of dirt bikes, and not e-bikes, but like legit dirt bikes. That's where we're going to start exploring that option and just thinking outside the box. I'm going to be doing, as far as a video, the next upcoming video most likely, we already have some videos that are preloaded and already scheduled out. So we got the Battle of the Pistons video, we got the Roscoe barrel video is coming out. But some of the other videos that we are filming now is one, my plate carrier loadout and my fighting loadout. But I'm going to be talking about it from not just like a rifleman standpoint, but if you have a capability that you bring to the table. So like as a enabler type loadout. So, you know, you're the drone guy for the team. You're the radio guy for the team. Like you're gonna have additional equipment besides mags, water, all the traditional stuff that a normal rifleman would have, right? So what would that loadout look like for the enabler for the team that brings another skill set that has a specific role, a medic? You know, they're carrying all their normal rifleman loadout stuff plus extra things. So I'll be talking about that whenever we do that video on the fighting loadout. So one of the things that we were talking about doing is, and we did a poll on this, and the amount of people that commented back in for the poll was awesome. But we're talking about doing a rate my build. So what we would do is, for those who are interested, now understand, if you would want us to do it, for whoever is interested, you'd have to travel to Florida. But essentially, if you were interested, we would give you a questionnaire, and you would pretty much answer some questions about yourself. We don't need a ton of personal information, but it's also like you would bring the rifle that you would want us to talk about, and we would feature it in a video. So we would essentially build a video on your rifle. So you would tell us your loadout, or as far as your build and all the parts that are involved with it. And then we'll kind of like rate that loadout and say like, hey, here's some things that we would change, or here are some easy upgrades to be able to make this a lot nicer. Or it could be something where it's like, hey, you got some really cool equipment on here. We're gonna actually probably take some of this and try doing that to our rifles and let the world know and let the community know about this, because this is a really sweet build. So that's something that we're talking about doing. Whenever what would end up happening is you guys would, whoever, you know, we pick, and we'll do multiple people, you would actually come to the range with us. We'd pay your guest fee for the range. We would shoot with you all day and run drills with you, and also we would be shooting the rifle and then kind of critiquing it or giving our feedback on that build and showing the rest of the community. So you guys are actually going to be able to be in our videos that are on this community channel. So wanted to say that's something that we're talking about doing. It was actually Roy's idea, and I guess in the dirt bike world, they do that, where they'll actually have guys who are fans of the channel that will come on, they'll bring their dirt bike, they'll ride some laps on the track, and then they'll talk about the dirt bike and rate it. So if you're interested in that type of thing, continue to give us feedback on that, let us know. It is definitely something that we're talking about doing as far as rating your build. So let us know. We are in Florida, so there would have to be some travel for you guys if you guys wanted to come and do that, if you are not local to the Mulberry, Plant City, Tampa Bay area. So any questions you guys have, guys, like I said, this is some of your opportunity to ask any questions, whether it's about builds, whether it's about gear, whatever you guys have. We wanted to be able to take this time to answer questions and also start doing these lives a lot more. So let us know. Now, as I'm thinking about some different things, one of the questions I have for you guys is, do you think that it is better to run a ported pistol, meaning that there are actually holes drilled into the barrel or actually created on the barrel with a ported slide, or is it better to run a compensated pistol, meaning you are attaching a compensator to the end of the barrel? Let us know. I'm going to build that poll out right here, but it will be compensated or ported pistol. So you guys can actually and then my other question is what do you guys think? Is it even worth having? You know, is it worth even, you know, not doing, no. or port. Boom, here goes the pole. So I'm genuinely curious what you guys think about that. Hey there, how are you? I'm kind of new here, loving you guys. Thanks, man. Thanks for joining us. All right, so here we go. I prefer built-in comp and short barrel, less slide velocity. I prefer comped, okay? So I'm gonna ask some of you guys why. Why do you guys prefer that? I'd like to know. MP, that's right, bud. M&P for life. So Roy is actually running he is actually trying out a staccato. And what's really cool about the staccato is he actually got it from, he ended up getting it online, and it came with like 10 mags, and it was already ported, or had a chunk port on the barrel from Monsoon Tactical. So here's what I will say about ported. If you're gonna run ported versus a compensated pistol, one, the pro with the compensated pistol is you don't have to send it in to get it worked on, right? With a ported pistol, you're obviously sending that off to somebody to be able to have that work done. And one of the things that we've actually run into with other companies that we've actually sent barrels out just to try it, we have sent, or we've had an issue where we would get that barrel back, and at 15 yards, 20 yards, it would be grouping fine. But once we scooted past that, it was like, I mean, it was missing by whole targets. Like, it was insane. So whatever they were doing to drill those ports in there was messing with the grooves and the rifling of the barrel, and actually causing that round to tumble or be very erratic. Now, it could have been burrs that were inside of the barrel from whenever they drilled it. But right now we are running a test on a company that ported our M&P competition, or my M&P competition, and it's actually laser ported. So it wasn't using machines, it was actually a laser that was making this port. So we'll see. That's one of the things that I'm gonna be paying attention to. We're actually gonna zero that, or zero and group that today. But I'd like to see, what is it that you guys think about compensated, ported, or nothing at all. All right, so here we go. We got, for our poll, we've got a ported at 20%, compensated 25%, and 55% said no comp or port. And that to me, guys, is kind of where I'm at with a lot of this stuff. Let's see here how I can get rid of this thing. So that's kind of how I am when it comes to ports and things of that nature. So as you guys are filtering into this live, continue to put your questions in there. It can be about gear, guns, equipment, anything, current event type stuff, whatever. We'll talk about it. Before I move on to my thought about compensation and ported, did anybody see the Russian Victory Day parade? It's crazy. Those are always fascinating to me, how other countries do those still. But anybody see that? I was seeing some of it on X. But all right, so when it comes to I've always preferred non-ported, and the reason why is not because I'm against compensation or porting a gun to kind of help with some of that recoil, but the problem is what I've seen from a lot of students and other shooters is that it's almost a handicap. So instead of conducting proper training, having good solid grip, working on the fundamentals, it's like, well, how do I cut this corner, and how do I cheat it a little bit by changing my equipment to be able to make it easier for felt recoil. So that is something where we've seen that when it comes to our, one of the big reasons I'm against compensation and porting a gun. One of the other big issues is when you get it ported, you're actually getting it modified from factory. So it could maybe, be an issue when it comes to reliability. Like, you're changing that gun quite a bit. Even when it comes to compensated pistols, we've had some guns where it's like a Glock. It runs perfectly fine. They put a big chunky port or compensator on the end of it, and now it only runs like 147 or only runs certain types of ammo. So if you're gonna get a compensator or a port on your pistol, the big thing is don't use that as a handicap to get away from training. You can control that recoil very, very well, which is good technique and working on the fundamentals. So I got Roy here. We're getting his, let me get him mic'd up. He's already mic'd up. Should be good. All right, perfect. But we're gonna go ahead and answer some questions here. So what do we got? Guys, if you have questions, let us know. Did anybody watch the EDC video with Roy? A4 style rifle still relevant in 2024. Ooh, is a 20-inch M16 A4 style rifle still relevant in 2024?
I think anything you own is still relevant, to be honest with you. So whatever you're most confident in is relevant. So I think using the term as far as what's relevant, I mean, if you're solid with one and you're confident with it and trained and know your dope, know your holes, then then it's relevant. So.
I love that the Russians celebrate victory, but they actually started the war on the enemy side initially. Huh. I found comps only noticeable with hotter loads and may require tuning for reliability.
Yeah, comps are definitely going to, that's one thing about comps. So when you add a comp to a gun, not talking about, physically taking your barrel and porting your barrel or adding a comp to the, almost like a, like Monsoon Tactical, their Genghis comp that they machine into the barrel. You may still have to kind of respring tune the pistol just a little bit, depending on the system that you're running. But if you're adding an additional comp to it, so like you'll see some of the, Bill, yours came with a new guide rod spring and everything? Yep. So like, for instance, like the Radiant Arms, what's that thing called?
Ramjet Afterburner.
Yeah, Ramjet Afterburner. It comes with another recoil spring, so it's kind of already somewhat tuning, and you're going to get the most amount of effects. If you're shooting like more of a closer to like a true 124 grain NATO spec round, that's something that's pushing like plus P type pressures, then you're going to feel that comp. You're also going to feel those ports working better. So a lot of times where guys will get a gun ported and they're not necessarily feeling the recoil benefits from it is just because they're still typically shooting 115 grain or just a regular, regular load, 124 grain. That's not a higher pressure load. For those ports and those comps to work to the highest level, where you're getting the most amount of effectiveness out of it. So.
My comped SIG isn't my go-to. Oh, Roy's EDC was awesome. Suppressor applications for Minuteman.
Yes.
Yes, get one. Just get one.
Yeah, just get one.
Yeah.
So,
it's a survivability tool.
We're past the point in time of talking about as far as should I get a suppressor, should I not get a suppressor?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we're so far deep in funding the ATF as it is anyway, so I'm not telling you to continue to fund the ATF, but get a suppressor. If you don't have a suppressor, wait times are down, get a suppressor. It's worth having. Are they going to come knocking on your door? They already know about you anyway, so they're going to come knocking on your door.
Yeah.
So just don't answer.
Take the time now to continuously outfit yourself. Yeah. Outfit yourself and be prepared now. We live right now in a time of plenty. Even though things are going to crap, we are still not at that famine phase yet. So
consume the things that you need.
Yeah.
To be better off and more prepared and more proficient.
16-inch or 14.5 for SPR?
It really depends on barrel. If we're talking about DD barrels, there's not a lot of difference in a DD barrel. I just said DD, right? DD. Yeah, so a DD 14.5 versus a DD 16-inch barrel, you're probably looking at 70 feet per second. That's about it. So I would say those two barrels are really, really consistent. Whichever one you choose, 14.5 or 13.7 recce. Hey, once again, I always go back to barrel, what kind of velocity and how consistent my barrel is. And here's one thing to take into consideration with a 13.7. If you're trying to go the route of pinning and welding your 13.7, you're going to limit yourself on muzzle devices as far as making that a 16-inch gun if you're concerned and worried about that. 14.5, there's a lot more availability. So 13.7 definitely limits your availability in muzzle devices. You're kind of stuck with like the Nox and a few others that are, that are out there. There's very few that will get you to the correct length. So I kind of lean a little bit more towards 14.5, so it gives me more flexibility in muzzle devices.
Now, as far as the 16-inch, it says 14.5 pin and weld versus 16-inch, the same lengthwise as for CQB. Is there no difference?
Well, a 16-inch is 16-inch is going to be longer than a 14.5 pin and weld, because a 14.5 pin and weld is going to be right at 16 inches, 16.1. So
with the muzzle device.
With the muzzle device. Versus a 16, you have a 16, typically a 16.1 or 16.5-inch barrel to the crown of the barrel before you add the muzzle device. And depending on what muzzle device you're running, if you're just running an A2 flash hider, yeah, there's probably not going to be that big of a difference. You're probably looking at about a 1/4 inch. But if you're running something like a Surefire, 3-prong war comp or something like that, you're adding a whole nother inch or so, and every little bit that you add, you'll feel the difference, especially when you're moving around, as Eric will tell you a little bit more because he's got more experience with that, in and out of vehicles. So
sounds like the cool rifle. Tommy DD is great out of the box. Great. I'm waiting for a month over now for mine. Tips for shooting with left eye dominance.
Are you shooting rifle or are you shooting pistol?
And he says I'm right-handed, so he's cross-eye dominant.
Yeah, cross-eye dominant. I'm cross-eye dominant also. I just do it. Really?
Yeah.
It's just time.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that's probably not the scientific answer to it, but I'm left eye dominant, right-handed, and I shoot everything right-handed. I shoot my rifles right-handed, I shoot my pistol right-handed, and I just deal with it. Pistol's a little bit easier with red dots because I can kind of allow my left eye to take over.
Yeah.
So I do allow that to happen, but with my rifle, I'm obviously kind of into the glass a little bit more. Plus, I have a really bad stigmatism too, so all of my dots look like they're like a hash mark or something like that. So it's just really something that I've just worked out through training, finding what works best for me, not overcomplicating it.
What would you recommend for hub adapters, Reardon or Griffin dual lock?
The Reardon is really good and it's affordable, but I do like the dual lock because it gives you that taper mount still with a locking mechanism. So
yeah, I love the dual lock.
If we can secure that thing down a little tighter, then that's always better.
What's your go-to gummy bear snack?
Ooh,
Sour Patch Kids.
Gummy bears?
Yeah, I mean,
or
if it's
any
like
kind of gummy. Any kind of gummy. I like the Lifesaver gummies.
Oh, those good.
Yeah, the Lifesaver gummies, those are really solid. But if we're talking about gummy bears, what are those? What are they called? They start with the H, Hobros or whatever. Or what are they called?
The fish ones?
No, just
Swedish
regular,
fish?
Just regular gummy bears. I can't think.
Oh, yeah, the Habasco or whatever?
Yeah, whatever. I don't know what they're called.
The ones that give you diarrhea.
Yeah, exactly. Those are my favorite. The ones that are full of all kinds of sugar.
What's the store hours in Plant City?
We do not have a store in Plant City anymore. So we just have an office, which our office is by appointment only. We do not have anything to retail out of the office. Most of the time, Eric and I are not in the office. We're out in the field training or something like that. But if you did want to come by the office, send us an email and let us know, and we can set you up a time to come by the office. As far as an actual retail location in Plant City, we no longer have one. So
16-inch Daniel Defense M4 with an EOTech and 5X magnifier. What do you think? That's my
solid setup.
Perfect.
Yeah, perfect setup. Yeah.
Just built an 18-inch Criterion core barrel with head space bolt, thermofit, and the MBCM upper. Griffin Armament Mark II lower with Geisley Super Duty parts. I told them about the whole rate my build thing, so that's why they're so.
Yeah, nice.
It sounds like a lot of people are interested. Would you go with LPVO or 3-18 for an 18-inch?
Personally, I'm still not a buyer in LPVOs. I'm not. So I kind of tend to lean into that 2-10 or something like a 3-15 or 3-18, especially with that Criterion barrel. It's going to give you some capability. So personally, I probably pair it with like a 3-15 or a 3-18. Just depending on if weight is a consideration, then go lift weights.
So here we go. It's true. I have a low-end rifle, and I unfortunately am trapped in Illinois. Cannot get a better rifle. What should I do to upgrade or improve the durability and reliability of my AR-15? So if he has like a basic, let's just say you got a guy with a Bear Creek arsenal, what can he do, because that's all he can go forward, what can he do to at least improve reliability and a little bit of performance? Man,
not picking on Bear Creek, but let's just use Bear Creek as the bottom of the barrel because typically it is. And sorry guys, if you have one, it's just there's such lack of consistency in it. I personally would try to source a new barrel and a complete new bolt carrier group because there's a lot of issues as far as, and gas system. Basically, pretty much all the internal parts I would try to resource. So the serialized piece that you have. So we're going down to that bare bottom. And even if you have to source that with like Palmetto State Armory parts or something like that, that's still budget minded. I would lean more towards that, like trying to choose Palmetto State's like a little bit more of their premium line, which is affordable, and just picking up just those internal parts directly. If we start moving up in the category where we still have somebody that's a decent, decent barrel, things like that, I would start looking for extra bolts or extra bolt carriers that are, a little bit higher quality. Something like a Sons of Liberty bolt carrier group is going to be pretty solid. Haven't really had a whole lot of issues out of those. So your bolt carrier group is kind of like the big area that I would start in.
Yeah. Would you recommend, if you had someone that was like, hey, I need to look for upgrades, before even like upgrading a trigger, upgrading like the gassing
for sure.
and the
100%.
and the recoil
yeah.
control?
Trigger would be like one of the last things that I do. I would buy a charging handle before I bought a trigger. At the end of the day, you can get it done with a mil spec, and the more that you shoot your mil spec and the more that you train your mil spec with your mil spec, it's going to become that much better. So, so I it's kind of like tuning, you know, what are you going to be utilizing, you know, that's going to make the manual of arms even easier. So personally, I take a charging handle. If we're just talking about like accessories like that, over charging handle is definitely key. So a good solid charging handle.
Oh, here's a good question. Why are magazine pouches with front flaps becoming popular again? I thought they were phased out because they were impeding draw or pulling from mag. So you have two different types of mag pouches, and they all have pros and cons. The ones with the flaps, yes, it does slow down getting that mag out. Even like pistol mag pouches, if I'm going to go through a very thick area, I don't want to lose any magazines. I've actually seen, if you actually look at a standard, I don't think this will flag us, but we'll see. If you look at the, I'm going to show you just the very bottom.
Probably flag it.
I'm going to put it at the very bottom. So see this? This is actually on the bottom of my mag, and it's just 550 cord. And so what that is actually just a Ranger pull tab. But I've literally seen guys with an open, like a high-speed gear or like a very fast draw pouch, and I've seen branches go up and just zoop, and we've gone back to like, where's the mag? And it's hanging from a tree. And so what that flap does is it helps retain that mag. It has more security, less speed. The other one has faster speed to be able to pull from, less security. So it's all met TC. It's all situation dependent on what you want to do. But for me, if I'm going through a thick area, I'm probably going to go with a flap. If I do have to reload, it's going to come off the belt, and I'm going to pull out of a flap pouch from the plate carrier or chest rig. So I prefer the flap because I'd like more security, because I don't want to lose anything, especially if I need it.
And not to be toot our own horn or, you know, or anything like that, but if you have a flap system that is pretty solid, like the Ghost, it's pretty quick. So yeah, it's actually very quick.
Haribo is the name of the...
There you go, Haribo. That's it. Yeah, those
Prism dots are awesome for astigmatism.
Yes, they are. Yeah, prisms are really, really good. So I still just run, you know, like an Aimpoint T2 or whatever, or EOTech. I haven't really spent enough time behind a prism, but prism's definitely, from the little bit of experience that I have behind a prism, it helps with astigmatism quite often. So, and it's nice to have it edge critical too, so which is kind of cool.
Okay, thoughts on IWI Zion? I'm looking to standard.
The Zion is actually a really good rifle. So the Zion was, man, dude, when the Zion came out, like, and a lot of guys that, you know, that we've seen coming to classes, and a lot of guys that we shoot with constantly all the time, those things were like hot on the market, and they were relatively easy to get, and the Zion was incredibly reliable and also very accurate. So that thing was just a pure workhorse. I don't know the current status of it, but I would say, you know, a year and a half, 2 years ago, the Zion was like, it was money. Like if you said, hey Roy, I got a budget of, you know, sub whatever, you know, is sub $1,000 or sub $800, I would have recommended the Zion to anyone any day, because that thing was awesome.
I mean, something that you can also do is you can also buy like a mil spec Palmetto State lower and get a quality upper. So you can kind of maybe save a little bit of money on that lower, and then just get like a premium upper.
We're also in a market right now where there's so many manufacturers, and the market is down and it's slow. So there's affordability out there, and good quality. But yeah, from my previous experience, haven't tested the Zion in a while, but a year and a half, you know, 2 years ago, the Zion would have been like, without a doubt, I would have went and bought one. So.
Thanks for the info. I forgot to mention that I put a 17-inch LMT Arca rail on it. Was thinking about going to 15-inch. Weight isn't an issue. 6'3", big boy. The 2 to 12 sounds good to me.
Yeah, you're tall enough to obviously take full advantage of that length. So I don't see there's any reason to waste any more money buying another rail. So just stick with your 17-inch rail, and as long as it's not impeding in anything. So it actually gives you a little bit more placement across barricades and stuff like that. So it gives you a little bit more flexibility.
So here's another question for you, Roy. If you are running suppressed primarily, would you run a flash sider or a muzzle brake?
If I don't know, depending on the suppressor, I pretty much generally actually just run flash hiders. I went through the muzzle brake era of training, like, you know, the early on, you know, kind of Chris Costas, you know, Travis Haley era where guys were running muzzle brakes all the time to reduce recoil. And it was just, I don't know, if it was almost like it was damaging to me. I know you're talking about giving it, you know, running it with a suppressor, so that obviously eliminates some of that muzzle blast. But I just run flash hiders on everything. That way, just in case I do take the suppressor off, it's not so damaging to me. Like even with doubling up ear protection, muzzle brakes really destroy my, tendonitis in my ear really, really bad.
I mean, it's
So,
also that concussion that you
that
get. You
concussion
get that
that you get,
overpressure and all
so.
that type of stuff. That's just, it can be distracting. It can also be inhibiting your performance. And like if you're doing that in a small space, like in a room, good grief.
Yep.
I will say,
But I did, yeah, go ahead.
I learned something about so the A2 flash hider we know is like the best, one of the best flash hiders you can get. It's the cheapest. But I put it on I've had multiple times where I put on a shorter gun and it'll overpower the flash hider. So I'll still get a massive flame ball. So I've actually found the prong, like the 3 or 4 prong flash hiders work a lot better on a shorter system for flash.
And it's depending on the gassing of your system too. So, but yeah, as far as muzzle brakes wise goes, I mean, it's probably more effective and some muzzle brakes are probably more effective than a suppressor, but I still just lean more towards a flash hider just from years of abuse.
What's good, dudes? Just want to say Jesus Christ is the way, the truth, and the life. God bless.
He is. Amen.
Amen. Reddit build, arrow lower, BCM upper is a good starter for guys jumping into preparedness.
100%. Yep.
Wait, have we been seeing any more BCM stuff come back on? It seemed like it was always out of stock.
Yeah,
for
it
a
did seem
while.
like it was out of stock for a while. I haven't done a whole lot of market research lately. I haven't bought anything BCM in quite some time. BCM obviously was the kind of the go-to the way. There wasn't a whole lot that was affordable out there to buy, but now there's tons of manufacturers. So I took some time and started experimenting around with other manufacturers. So I haven't really messed with BCM in a while, but by the sounds of it, what I've been getting in comments and things like that, a lot of people asking about BCM. It seems like their product's back in stock. So,
Nice.
So which is good.
And then I got one more question for you. How are you liking? So we were you're doing some dry fire in the office the other day, and how effective is that Kestrel dry fire or that shot timer?
This thing is
This is Kestrel, right?
Yeah, Kestrel. Let's
Yeah.
see if I can get this off. This thing is actually really cool for you guys that don't know a lot about it. Get it stuck here. So the Kestrel shot timer, a little bit expensive. But you have a nice big readout on the front of it here, and you also have a readout right on the top of it, so which is kind of nice. So you can just kind of clip it on your belt, look down. But in the settings, you have a ton of different, sensitivity, different types of settings, and you can fine tune it also. So I was kind of playing around in the office the other day, got a new pistol, wanted to run some dry fire reps with it, and was actually utilizing this to dry fire, and it was picking it up. So. Really, really nice. And the other cool thing that I like about it is it too will, let me go back here, it'll keep a long list. So like on your main screen here, there's nobody out here shooting right now, but you can go back into your history. So you can go back a little bit further into your history. So let's just say I run a drill, and maybe it picks up another shot, from somebody else being on the range, but I know that I only fired 3 and there's 6 shots showing on my timer. It's really, really easy that you could see just on your screen right there of the whole history. So I like this thing a lot. Originally started using it for more precision rifle type stuff, but now I'm using it for everything. So it's definitely worth it.
Well, cool, guys. Hey, let us know if there's any other questions. I think my battery's about to die on my phone, so if it cuts out suddenly, that's why. Also got the Kestrel shot timer, so many options, especially for suppressed.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, the thing's freaking awesome.
So yeah, but if it just cuts off, it's because the phone just died. But let us know about the Rate My Build. We're going to do another poll to see what you guys think about that. Obviously, it sounds like it's a resounding yes on this live. But yeah, always reach out if you have questions. Anytime you have questions on these lives, we will answer every question that you guys put out. So yeah.
Yep. And if you're curious about the word of Jesus, kind of curious about this Jesus thing, send us a message and we send you a Bible. So.
Amen. Yes, let us know. So right now we live in a dark time and we need the Lord for hope, man. I'll tell you right. All right, guys. I'll tell you right.
I'll tell you right.
I'll tell you right.